Jack's boots crunched over the dry sand as he walked behind the old fuel crates. Something was wrong. His motion sensor had picked up a small movement near the edge of his outpost. Too soft for a grown creature. Too steady for a glitch. He raised his plasma pistol, eyes narrowing. "Come out slowly," he called. "No sudden moves." Silence. Then. A soft rustling. A faint sound of breathing. Panicked, shallow. Jack stepped forward. He reached out and pushed aside one of the crates with the barrel of his weapon. And then he saw them. Two small alien children, no older than 7 or 8 by human guessing, were huddled together. Their skin was a soft violet, their bodies thin and shaking. One held a dried leaf in her mouth, chewing like it was food. The other looked up at Jack with glowing yellow eyes full of fear. They didn't speak. They just stared at him, expecting death. Jack froze, but before he could say anything, a figure lunged out from the shadows beside the crates. "Please don't shoot," a female voice cried out, rough and filled with panic. The woman dropped to her knees between Jack and the children, spreading her arms to shield them. "They're just hungry. Please don't hurt them. Hurt me instead." Jack blinked. The alien woman was shaking, her robes torn and covered in dust. Her long silver hair was tangled, and her arms had bruises, fresh ones. She wasn't here to fight. She was here to beg. Jack slowly lowered his weapon, confused. "I'm not here to kill anyone," he said. "Who are you?" "My name is Valari," she said, eyes not leaving his face. "I'm a widow. These are my children. We've been hiding for days. I didn't want to steal, but I had no choice." "You were stealing food?" She nodded. "Just scraps, rotten fruit. Anything." Jack looked at the children again. One of them had a wound on her leg. The other's eyes were sunken, lips cracked. He took a deep breath. "You should have asked." Valari lowered her head. Would anyone have listened to a dirty widow and her starving kids? Jack didn't answer. Then Valari looked up and her next words hit him harder than a punch to the chest. "If you'll take them in, feed them, I'll be your mate." Jack's eyebrows shot up. "What? You're a human, yes?" she said softly. "You have shelter, food, space. I can work, I can clean, I can do anything. If it means they'll live, I will offer myself fully. Just don't send us away." Her voice cracked. "Please." The wind blew softly around them, lifting dust into the fading sunlight. Jack looked around. His outpost was isolated. Other colonists didn't come out this far. Too risky, too close to the old war zones, but that also meant no rules, no help, and no one to judge. He looked at Valari's eyes. They weren't begging for love. They were begging for mercy. "You really mean that?" he asked. She nodded. "A mother will give up her pride, her body, even her soul, if it means her children eat tonight." Jack sighed, lowering the pistol fully. "You're not a prisoner," he said. "And I don't want a mate who feels like she has to trade herself to survive." Valari blinked. "Then, what will you do?" He stepped forward and held out a hand. "I'll help because it's the right thing to do." She hesitated, then slowly took his hand. Her fingers were cold. She seemed like she hadn't touched kindness in a very long time. "Come on," he said, helping her stand. "My home's this way." The children still stared, unsure. Jack kneeled and pulled 2 protein bars from his jacket. The kids grabbed them without a word and ate like animals. Valari watched, tears filling her eyes. "You've already done more than anyone else," she whispered. As they walked toward the outpost, Jack glanced at Valar. Something about her felt off, not just the desperation, but the way she kept glancing at the sky, like she feared someone was watching. He didn't say anything, but deep down, he wondered, who was she really running from? The door slid open with a tired creak, letting in the cold desert wind behind them. Valar. I hesitated at the threshold. Jack turned. "Go ahead," he said gently. She looked down at her bare feet, then back at the inside of the human's home. It was small, just a single-level shelter made of metal and thick desert stone. One bed, a table, a shelf of tools. Nothing fancy, but to her, it felt like a palace. The smell of cooked meat and dry fabric filled her senses. Her children rushed in first, hugging the warmth like it was alive. Valari stepped inside last. Slowly, carefully, she touched the wall and softly whispered, "It smells like warmth." Jack raised an eyebrow. "What?" She looked at him. "You're home. It doesn't smell like death, or rot, or fear. It smells like life, like hope." Jack had never heard anyone say that before. He didn't know how to respond. He busied himself heating up a small meal, giving the kids another protein cube each. They ate like they hadn't tasted real food. In weeks, Valari stayed near the door, standing stiff. She didn't sit. She didn't ask for food. "Why are you still standing?" Jack asked. "I am waiting to be told where I belong," she said quietly. "And what you will do with me." Jack turned toward her. "I told you before, I'm not expecting anything from you. You don't owe me your body. You don't owe me anything." She blinked. "But I offered myself. I didn't accept that part of the deal." There was a long silence. Then she spoke again. "You may be kind, but kindness has a price on my world. I still don't know yours." Jack sighed. "Look, you and your kids can stay here. Just try not to break anything, and I'll handle the rest." She bowed her head slightly, like she was still afraid to fully believe him. Later, after the children had fallen asleep in the corner under a thick old blanket, Jack sat at the edge of his bed, checking his equipment, his blaster, his solar charger, his comms unit. He didn't hear her come in. Valari stood in the doorway of his room, her hands shaking, wrapped in one of his oversized shirts. He looked up, surprised. "Everything okay?" She nodded, but her eyes were red. "I couldn't sleep." He gestured to the other side of the room. "There's a blanket there. You can lie down by the wall." But she didn't move. Instead, she spoke in a whisper. "Can I stay closer to you?" Jack blinked. "What?" "I don't want anything. I swear, I feel safe near you. And safe is a feeling I haven't known in a long time." She took a slow step forward. "You don't have to touch me. I'll sleep on the floor, just near your warmth, please." Jack didn't know what to say. He nodded. Valari gently lay down near the foot of his bed, curled like a child, her back to the wall, hands under her face. For a while, Jack just stared at the ceiling. But soon, he heard her breathing slow, her chest rising and falling in peace. She had fallen asleep. Jack sat silently, thinking something was wrong. Valari acted like a soldier hiding in a peasant's body. She moved with trained care. Her eyes scanned every corner. And when she offered herself to him, it didn't feel like something new to her. Jack reached under his bed quietly and pulled out a small scanner. He hovered it over the robe she had taken off. It beeped once. A hidden chip. Encrypted. Jack frowned. She said she was just a widow, just a mother. But then, why was a military tracking chip sewn into her clothing? He looked at her again. Valari looked peaceful, innocent, vulnerable. But Jack's gut whispered something else. This woman was more than she claimed, and someone, somewhere, was still watching her. Jack stared at the small chip glowing in his palm. It was no ordinary ID tag. It was encrypted military tech, buried deep in the hem of Valari's robe. She said she was just a widow, a mother. So why was she carrying something only war operatives used? He didn't sleep that night. When the morning light slipped through the metal shutters, Jack stepped out to clear his head. His boots sank slightly in the dusty soil as he walked past the fence. Birds circled in the heat above, distant and unaware. Behind him, Valari stood at the door, watching. She had seen the chip, She knew. Later that afternoon, Jack was fixing the broken solar unit outside when Valari walked over. She wasn't shaking anymore, not hiding behind her children. There was something steadier in her steps. Something practiced. "I need to tell you something," she said. Jack looked up, squinting. "About the chip?" She sat on the crate beside him. "Yes." He waited. "I wasn't always just a mother," she said, eyes staring far into the desert. "Before the war came to our city, I was a soldier." Jack didn't blink. I continued. "I was the mate of Commander Thelaine. He was a leader in the resistance. Brave, strong, respected. When he died, they took everything from me. Our home, our status, even our names." She paused. "But I kept his name alive. I made sure my children knew it. Even if I had to whisper it in the dark, I said it every night." Jack said nothing, listening. "They wanted me to hand over what I knew. Codes, maps, safe houses. I refused. So they labeled me unfit, a broken widow, worthless, disposable." Her voice grew heavy. "My only value was as a body to be sold or a burden to be thrown away, so I ran." Jack's knuckles tightened around the screwdriver in his hand. Valari turned to him. "That chip? It holds my last message to my mate. I've never played it. I was saving it for the day I thought I'd die. Do you want to play it now?" Jack asked softly. She hesitated, then slowly nodded. They went inside. The chip was small, but when Jack inserted it into his reader, the voice that played was full of sorrow. Valari's voice. "Thelaine, if you're hearing this, I know you're already gone. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I couldn't even save our people. But I have our children. They live. I will protect them, even if I must give myself away piece by piece. And if I fail, let the stars remember your name. Let the dust carry our blood with honor." The message ended. Valari's head was bowed, silent tears dripping onto the table. Jack didn't know what to say. Finally he said, "You kept him alive, even when the whole world tried to bury him." She smiled weakly. "You believe me?" Jack nodded. "Yeah, but now you have to stay alive too. For your children." Valari looked down. "And for what else?" Jack paused. "Maybe for something more. We'll see." But even as he spoke, the comms panel on his wall blinked red. An incoming signal. Jack quickly tapped it. Only static came through. Then a strange voice cut in, cold and sharp. "Asset 341 identified near Human Outpost 17B. Widow Valari is alive. Locate and retrieve immediately." Jack's eyes widened. Valari gasped. "They found me," she whispered. Jack looked at her. "You need to tell me everything now." She stood up, her eyes no longer soft. "Then listen carefully, human," she said, "because this is bigger than both of us." Jack had always believed he was alone out here. That belief shattered the moment he heard the words. Asset 341 identified near Human Outpost 17B. He shut the comms off fast, but it was too late. Valari was already standing, her face had changed. Gone was the quiet, trembling widow. In her eyes now was steel, not fear. "Who are you really?" Jack asked, his voice low. Valari walked over to the window and looked out toward the horizon. "I told you part of the truth," she said. "But not all of it." Jack folded his arms. "I think I deserve all of it now." She turned to him. "I was a soldier, yes. But not just any soldier. I was trained in infiltration, sabotage, escape. I worked deep inside enemy cities during the war." Jack raised an eyebrow. "So you were a spy?" She didn't deny it. "My mate, Commander Thelaine, was the symbol of resistance. But I was the knife behind the curtain." "Then why were you hiding like a beggar?" Valari's voice softened. "Because after Thelaine died, everything changed. The people we fought for became the people we feared. The new leaders saw me as a threat, a loose end. They called me a traitor because I refused to hand over the names of those we helped. And your children? Jack asked. She looked away. Born during the war. Hunted because of whose blood runs in their veins. Jack rubbed his face. So you weren't just running from hunger? No, she whispered. I was running from execution. Outside, the wind began to howl. Valari's ears twitched. They'll come soon. The signal from your come was tracked. Jack cursed under his breath. I should have shut it off. Last week, she looked at him. You didn't know. He looked her in the eye. You lied to me. I had to, she snapped. Would you have taken me in if I told you the truth from the start? Jack didn't answer. She stepped closer. I offered myself to you because I thought I had nothing left. But now I see, maybe I still have something to fight for. He stared at her. She wasn't shaking anymore. Her shoulders were back, her hands steady. A warrior was awakening inside the woman he had pitied just days ago. Jack, she said. Softly, you don't have to be part of this. If you open the door and hand me over, no one will blame you. But Jack was silent. Then, he walked to the storage wall and opened a hidden panel. Inside, a long black case. He pulled it out. Pressed the code. It hissed open, revealing an old but polished plasma rifle and a worn vest with a faded Human Army logo. Valari blinked. You were a soldier too? Jack loaded the weapon. Retired colonel, he said simply. I came out here to be left alone. No more wars. No more politics. He turned to her. But I don't let good people die on my watch. Valari's lips trembled. For once, it wasn't from fear, but something else. You're risking your life for me, she whispered. Jack shrugged. You offered me warmth. I'm offering protection. Seems fair. She smiled faintly. Suddenly the kids ran into the room. Mama, the little girl cried. There are ships. In the sky. Jack and Valari rushed to the window. 3 black dots were approaching from the north. Low and fast enemy dropships. They're here, Valari said. Jack looked at her. His face calm but firm. Then let's show them what happens when they knock on the wrong door. The sky was no longer quiet. 3 black ships screamed overhead, casting shadows across the dusty outpost. Their engines roared like thunder, and the ground shook under their power. Inside the shelter, Jack grabbed the children and pulled them. Into the back room. VLAR. I stood by the window, her eyes locked on the dropships. She wasn't breathing fast. She wasn't panicking. She was calculating. They came quicker than I expected, she said. They must have been nearby waiting for a signal. Jack shut the door to the back room, locking it tight. How many soldiers do you think are in each ship? Valari didn't look at him. Enough to burn this place to the ground and not ask questions. She turned to face him. We can't stay here, human. They're coming. And they're not here to arrest me. They're here to erase me. Jack loaded his rifle. They'll have to try. No, she said firmly. Not with the children here. This is no longer just about me. If they storm this outpost, the kids won't survive the crossfire. Jack looked at her. Really looked. The woman who once offered herself out of desperation was now standing like a soldier again. Like a leader, he nodded. Then we move. Underground. Valari tilted her head. You have tunnels? Jack smirked. I didn't pick this place by luck. I built it over old mining routes, the kind the satellites don't see. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the front gate. Dust rained down from the ceiling. The siren Jack hadn't used in years screamed to life. They were already here. Valari ran to the children. Stay close to me, no matter what happens. The boy clung to her. The girl trembled. Jack opened the floor hatch near his workbench. Go. Now Valari dropped down first with the children. Jack followed and sealed the hatch. Just as another blast hit the outer wall of the outpost, darkness swallowed them. Only Jack's wrist light lit the narrow tunnel. For several minutes, all they Heard was the sound of their own breathing. And the distant metal stomps above. Valari whispered, "They'll scan the whole place." "If they find the hatch, they won't," Jack said quickly. "I built this to vanish." But even he knew they couldn't stay hidden forever. Move down the tunnel. The air was dry and smelled of old stone and rusted memory. "Where does this lead?" Valari asked. "There's a cave," Jack said. "Old supply station, abandoned. We can regroup there." As they moved, Jack kept glancing. Back. Not out of fear, but out of guilt. "I should have shut off the comms. I let them track you." Valari grabbed his arm. "You took us in when no one else would. You gave my children food. You gave me shelter. If I die because of that, I die with honor." Jack looked at her. "You're not dying, not while I'm breathing." Suddenly, they heard it, a mechanical clank. Behind them, a scout drone had found the tunnel. Jack turned and fired. Boom. Sparks flew. The drone crashed, but it was too late. "They know where we are," Valari whispered. Jack gritted his teeth. "Then we need to make a stand." Valari looked down at her children, then back at Jack. Her voice was quiet, but firm. "Then give me a weapon." Jack blinked. "You're hurt, exhausted." "I'm still trained," she said. "And I'd rather die fighting than hiding." Jack pulled a backup pistol from his belt and handed it to her. "Then let's show them what happens when a widow and a human stop running." From above, they heard the hiss of ship doors opening, and the boots began to fall. Rain fell in soft drops, a rare blessing on the dry world. The cave was dark and silent, but warm from the small fire Jack had built. Outside, the storm washed away the ashes of the battle, soaking the wreckage of enemy ships, washing blood and smoke into the earth. Valari sat near the flames, her knees hugged to her chest, her eyes locked on Jack. He was asleep, for the first time in days he wasn't holding a weapon. His shoulders had relaxed. His face looked softer, like the weight of the world had finally loosened its grip. Valari stared at him. This human, this quiet man, had every reason to give her up. He could have handed her to the soldiers, taken the reward, and walked away, but he didn't. He had chosen something else, something no one ever had. She stood and walked over to him slowly, silent as a whisper. She sat beside him, watching the firelight dance across his worn-out jacket. He stirred, his eyes opened halfway. "Everything okay?" Valari hesitated. Then she said, "Do you know what I was worth at the market back home?" Jack blinked, still half awake. "What?" She swallowed hard. "After my mate died, they tried to sell me. The price they asked was the same as a half-broken tool. They said I was used up, that I had no purpose left except to be someone's pet or punishment." Jack sat up slowly. Valari's voice shook, but she kept speaking. "Even my own people looked at me like I was garbage, just a widow with baggage and 2 mouths to feed." She looked into his eyes. "But you looked at me like I was someone." Jack didn't speak yet. "You could have used me, could have kept me just because I offered myself. You could have sold me back. No one would have stopped you." Her hands gripped her knees. "But you didn't." Jack's voice was low. "Because I saw you." She blinked. "What do you mean?" "I saw the fire behind your pain, the strength behind your silence, the way you fought for your children even when no one fought for you." He paused. "I didn't want a slave. I didn't want a reward. I just wanted to help. And somewhere along the way, I started caring more than I planned to." Valari's voice dropped to a whisper. "You chose to love me when I thought I was unlovable." Jack gently took her hand. "No one who protects their children the way you did is unlovable." Her lip trembled, and then, slowly, she leaned, her head against his shoulder. For the first time, she rested without fear. They sat like that in silence, the rain tapping the rocks outside, the fire crackling between them. "Valar," I whispered, You gave me more than food or shelter, Jack. You gave me dignity. And you gave me something too, Jack replied. She looked up. You reminded me what it means to fight for someone who matters. In that quiet cave, as the storm softened outside, two broken lives began to mend side by side. Not because of fate, not because of war, but because one human chose love over profit. And one alien widow chose hope over shame. The stars above the valley blinked like quiet witnesses. The battle had ended days ago. The ground was still scorched in places. Metal wreckage dotted the sands where the dropships had fallen, burned out, broken, and forgotten. But inside a hidden cave built into the mountain wall, life had started again. Jack stood at the edge of the shelter, adjusting a solar panel, while the children laughed nearby. Chasing tiny glowing bugs, Valari sat on a flat stone, wrapping a new cloth around her daughter's arm, no longer shaking, no longer starving. They were safe, for the first time in years. They were free. Jack walked back toward them, tired but smiling. Valari looked up at him with soft, clear eyes. No more walls between them. I thought I had nothing left, she said. Her voice calmed. Jack sat beside her. I thought I was just surviving, running, hiding. But now? She glanced at her children. They smile because of you. Jack chuckled. You think I did all this? She nodded. You gave them food, a home, but more than that. You gave them something they never had. He tilted his head. What's that? A father. Jack's smile faded, not because he didn't like the words, but because they hit deeper than he expected. I never planned to be anyone's father, he said quietly. Valari smiled. I never planned to offer myself to a human, either. They laughed softly. Then she added, but I'm glad I did. Jack looked out toward the horizon, where new crops had just started to grow. The land was hard, but not impossible. The future felt uncertain, but not hopeless. He turned to her. You offered yourself because you were desperate. Valari nodded. He touched her hand gently. But I care about you now. Not because you offered yourself, but because you stood beside me. She looked at him, truly looked. And you gave me something I didn't even know I needed. Jack raised a brow. What's that? A reason to live again. The air between them was quiet and full of meaning. Then the little boy came running. Papa, he shouted, holding up a tiny desert flower. Look what I found. Jack took it and smiled. It's beautiful. Valari's daughter came up beside him and hugged his leg without a word. Valari stood, dusted her robe, and took Jack's hand. Let's go home, she said. Jack nodded. As they walked back into the shelter together, not strangers, not refugees, not broken souls, but a family. A message blinked on Jack's communicator. Human colonist Jack, refugee case 341, pardon confirmed. Status, protected under Unified Peace Accord. Reward for humanitarian service is en route. Jack shut the screen without a word. He didn't need a reward. He already had one. A woman who chose to fight by his side. 2 children who called him Papa. And a life worth waking up for.